Drew, we're back.
Yeet! Yep.
Coming off our Games of the Year podcast episode, it is now time for January. Very late in the month of February, but who cares? That's what I say.
That's what he says.
It's also almost 2 a.m. for me, but whatever.
Dude, I said, hey, let's wait till tomorrow morning. It's 2 a.m. And he's like, no.
No, let's fucking do it.
Let's fucking do it, man. I'm like, oh, well, if JD says we should do it, we gotta do it.
So I've been playing a couple games that I'd like to just get out of the way real quick, Drew. You don't mind?
Yeah, just say them quickly.
So I finally started Axiom Verge.
Oh, yeah! Good job. How you liking that?
I really like it. It's a little too... The dialogue's a little bit smarmy.
It's a great
kind of self-aware of what dialogue of retro games would be.
Yeah.
So he's like, I just want to talk. Bad guy says to kill. Nuts. And then you kill the enemy. Was that really necessary? I don't need smarmy characters in my games. But nonetheless, fan of Super Metroid. Everyone said to play the game. You among one of them.
Yes, I was one of them. I was like, that and Titan Souls. Do that one next.
I'm liking Axiom Verge. It's very quick and easy to play. I'm finding. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the weapon upgrades yet.
Oh, they get more fun later on when they're like crazy, but
yeah, I'm not. I like the control scheme of the weapons, but not sold 100%.
What are you playing on?
The Switch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I played that on my Vita.
Ooh. And then for the Retro Gaming Podcast, dabbing in some Blinks the time-sweeping cat. On the OG Xbox.
The OG Xbox?
Yeah. Been a while since I fired that sucker up.
It's a good console, man.
It's quite loud.
Mine isn't that loud. Dude, I've missed the Dookie.
I'm not using the Duke controller. I do have one, though, for my larger hand friends. So,
for some reason, like, back in Halo, like, the Duke was so good. Like, it was so much easier to aim on the Duke than anything else, for some reason. It just had the best sticks.
But yeah.
Then again, even if I pull out my original Xbox, all I play is Halo, right?
Well.
Or Battlefront.
The next theme is platformers. That was my pick, and I've wanted to play Blinks for quite some time. A lot of people are nostalgic to that game, so I figured might as well finally get my hands on it and play it, and whew. Boy, I got words for that game later.
Later in a different podcast.
Yeah, but I am playing it, and it's much easier than I was kind of hoping for.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What about you, Drew?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Halo, you know. Been playing a lot of Halo.
Coming
the
from the dude with the Xbox shirt on.
Yeah, the MLG HCS season is going on right now, and they've been doing the Microsoft Store free for all tournaments. I've been playing at those. Placed 4th at the last one, which I was really proud of myself for. And then I picked up out of the Walmart bargain bin. You know, those big bins are just like $7, $9. Just
I am familiar with said things.
Yeah, I picked up Sunset Overdrive, right?
Okay.
Because I was like, I want to replay Sunset Overdrive, and it was a brand new copy that I picked up, which was the pre-order deluxe edition copy, unopened. So I have all that extra digital stuff, which is awesome. And I'm playing Sunset Overdrive again, which is so much fun. I absolutely adore that game.
Insomniac made it, correct?
Insomniac made it, yeah.
I like that company. I wish they'd make more games.
It's one of the most stylish, exciting games I think I've ever played. The humor is perfect. The art style is great. The banter and the writing is hilarious. The soundtrack is just all punk rock, and it fits perfectly. You know, when you die, every single time you come back to life, like you respawn as a different little animation that's funny and fourth wall breaking. You know, sometimes you come out of like the Doctor Who thing. Sometimes you just, fall from the sky, breaks the fourth wall constantly, and it's
those
are
the kind of games that Xbox is missing, man.
Yeah, no, I know Xbox. I feel like they're gonna push back towards it, but Sunset Overdrive was is one of the best games on the Xbox.
There's some interesting articles and rumors coming out about what Xbox is getting ready to do in 2018, heading into 2019. Phil Spencer's kind of heading it. A lot of the rubbish rumors behind EA trying to acquire, or Microsoft trying to acquire EA or Valve or what have you. What they did do is buy a cloud-based streaming service.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the Xbox Games Pass. They're selling it like, hey, you can buy 100 plus games because you just buy the pass and then you can play all the games. Kind of like PS Now. You just
Colin and I had a pretty good conversation over the Microsoft Game Pass on the most recent retro gaming episode. Actually,
I'll have to
Go
listen
figure.
to that. I think 2018, 2019 for Xbox is going to be really interesting because they've gotten all the most powerful console in the world thing out of the way. I think because we already know the 2018 lineup for Xbox, I think they might add one more thing to it at E3. But I personally think they're going to do, what was it, 2016? Sony did that E3 that had like the Final Fantasy VII trailer, which was one of the best E3 conferences ever. But it was all stuff that's coming out in like 2020, like stuff we haven't seen come out yet.
No, it was a lot of stuff that was coming out at the tail end of 2017 and this year was what was shown at that conference.
Yeah, but it was all this stuff that was way in the future.
Well, there was a couple trailers, like Kingdom Hearts 3.
There's a couple trailers,
and Final Fantasy VII.
We're going to see Xbox come out this E3, and their focus is going to be, like, hey, these are the things coming out this fall. But then I think they're going to just do the thing where they drop tons of trailers that make everybody excited for the Xbox, right? I think they're just going to say, here's like our next like 4 years games-wise. And, everybody's going to be talking about it. They're going to be like, I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited for that. And even though they don't have the games on the console right now, there's enough excitement and banter around the system and the brand to sell more consoles.
I think you're being way over optimistic with that kind of outlook.
That's exactly what Sony did. Xbox is still a
but the difference was
brand.
You saw that coming from Sony. You heard the rumors of these games and whatnot. Xbox doesn't have that right now. Maybe we'll hear more the closer we get to the summer, but anyways, what's probably going to be just reiterated at E3 is Anthem.
Maybe so, yeah. I still think because we've seen rumors for the Coalition doing like a Perfect Dark reboot. I think you're going to see them reboot maybe some single player projects. There's rumor that there's new Fable in development. I think we're going to have Xbox knows that, like I said, they're $1 million, multi-million dollar company, and they kind of understand the game industry to an extent. They got themselves in a pit where they were working on the multimedia entertainment console, and then the Xbox One X being the most powerful console. But Phil Spencer's a smart guy. They all look around. They know what the game industry is and what they need to do, and I think they're going to start pushing to get these studios making great games for the Xbox.
Well, Phil Spencer himself said Xbox needs assets, and the assets are games, and they need to make games, but they've really burned a lot of bridges. He was fully admitting of that, and they need to get it back. Because what Xbox has done is they don't have a lot of internal studio power to make the games like PlayStation or Nintendo does. So they gotta almost
You're seeing
rebuild.
the rumors of them purchasing. Which is why you're seeing the rumors of them purchasing all like EA, PlayerUnknown. I think they're going to be getting new assets, which is why I think the focus.
But they have assets. They have Rare.
Future. They have Rare, and I think you'll see Rare is making a new game. Their Sea of Thieves is Rare's new project. Releases in March.
But that's just going to go with the Game Pass.
Is it? Do we know?
Yeah, the Game Pass comes out the day Sea of Thieves releases.
I thought the Game Pass is already out.
I think it comes out in March, next month, officially.
No, because I'm on the Xbox Live on my dashboard. They're always talking about get Xbox Game Pass to play this. So I'm pretty sure it's out. I think you'll see it show up there, which will just be a service like, hey, get the Xbox Game Pass and play this. And I think it's going to be a little bit of an issue, especially with the Windows 10 thing. And, getting into Xbox's backlog, I feel like they need to the Play Anywhere initiative that they did with Windows 10, being able to play it on your PC and everything, they need to end that. That is Microsoft encouraging people to not get an Xbox, and that is a terrible idea. You know? Microsoft has made some terrible business decisions in light of trying to make the Microsoft and Xbox brand be this do everything at the same time on anything idea, you know, with you know, cable and your Xbox and Netflix and 4K Blu-ray players and playing on your PC and on your Xbox and all this different stuff, you know. They need to come out at E3, say, hey, this is our future plan. These are some awesome games. They're on Xbox only, and this is Xbox. You know, they need to capture the excitement of what the 360 held, right? You know, I think they need to reboot a lot of franchises, and they need to get back on the game industry horse, because by no means did the Xbox do terribly. You know, it's sold enough. It's a good console. It just has bad business direction.
Okay, so it's the Game Pass is out. I misread it.
Yeah.
It is the release of first-party titles coinciding with the release of Sea of Thieves.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what they're doing.
Okay.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Xbox. Now that the Xbox One X is out of the way, the future of the Xbox, unless they come out at E3 and say, hey, we're focusing on VR now, which would be a terrible decision. I think we're completely safe, you know, because the future is games, right? And Phil Spencer gets enough tweets to know what needs to happen, you know? So.
Well, he definitely, yeah. Phil Spencer. I respect the guy.
I really respect Phil Spencer. Yeah.
But I mentioned Anthem earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That game was in January confirmed to be delayed until 2019.
Right.
Due to, well, okay, BioWare and EA say it's not a delay. They want to release Battlefield first.
Really?
But they're full of shit, first of all.
Yeah.
They're delaying it because they're scared. Because of all
I'm not excited for Anthem at all anymore.
No,
after the Battlefront
there were already
rumors
rumors circulating within the development of Anthem that the teams are backlash. There's internal backlash. There's issues trying to create a story. Issues with EA and what they want in the game. There was a lot of rumors circulating about that, and now they go, well, it's not a delay, but it's come out in 2019. Well, it was scheduled for 2018. If you're putting it off, then it is a delay by definition.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Anthem, I'm not even thinking about it anymore. As of now, for me personally, as a gamer, I do not care about anything EA is going to do.
So
at all.
So
after what happened with Battlefront 2, and then them coming out and saying in a press release, we're not changing our business practices. We believe in microtransactions, saying that fuck all of you. We want your money, and we're gonna suck it out of you.
It's because
anyway.
they make so much money
fuck
off it in
EA,
the first
man.
place.
No, fuck EA. I'm not. They do not exist in my head anymore.
Well, that's
unless something huge happens, and I'll look at the news stories. Right, if they change up and they become different, Microsoft buys them and starts enforcing different things, I will definitely relook into EA. But as of now, EA does not exist as a gaming publisher to me. I will not touch a single EA game.
No, and that's the direction
I will not touch
and that's the direction I went years ago with EA, with how they treated older sports titles. FIFA, for example, with the Ultimate Team packs, card packs.
Mm-hmm.
The only way for a company to listen to the consumer is the consumer to not buy anything. Because if you continue buying their product, then they're still making their profit, and they have no reason to change.
Yep.
So with the backlash BioWare faced after Mass Effect Andromeda and releasing that monstrosity, it took them a year to recover from it, basically. But by that time, the damage was done. So now BioWare is feeling a ton of pressure because of that.
Yep.
Following EA's disaster with Need for Speed and Star Wars, with the microtransactions and fucking legislation is being looked into, and the U.S. government's shit at doing its job, and they're still looking at that. BioWare was very afraid of Anthem being a success. That is a fact. And then EA didn't want it to. They saw the backlash that they got. So what my theory is, they go, look, Battlefield is a slam dunk every year, or every time for them.
Slam dunk, yeah.
As in, it will sell.
Yeah, it'll sell. Definitely.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good game, but it will sell. Just like Star Wars Battlefield 2. We may shit on the game, but it did sell.
Yeah, because it has a brand.
Yeah, it sold 9 million. They're like, ooh, but it needed, 11, I think, is what they told investors.
Something like that.
Boo-hoo.
You
know it didn't cost that much, so they made their profit margin easily.
Yeah.
They just want all the money. So,
yep.
Anthem has to be a hit, or otherwise EA and BioWare are... Well, not EA, but BioWare's done. Mm-hmm. And then EA will just ruin another studio, just like that. Something they've done in the past.
I'm really hoping that the rumor that Microsoft is buying EA is not true. I hope they're buying studios off of EA.
Sub-studios?
Yep. I hope they're looking into buying BioWare. Think about BioWare under Microsoft with those assets and that amount of freedom from the publisher.
That would be a direction. I would be behind.
Well,
I would be behind that. I mean,
strongly...
we're just spitballing here, but even
something I respect about Sony and my Xbox is that they let 343, the Halo creators, did a quote when they were talking about kind of Halo 6, and they say Microsoft doesn't touch our games. We 343 make our games, and that's what I love about Xbox and Sony. Is that they let their studios create video games. The developers create video games, not the publishers. So, I think if you take some of these great studios with a lot of potential that EA is killing, you put those under a place like Microsoft that just give you creative freedom and funding, I think you can make an incredible game, like Insomniac did, with Sunset Overdrive, BioWare
here's the problem, though.
Under Microsoft would be incredible.
Here's the problem, though. Here's an actual quote from Andrew Wilson, the EA chief exec. All right, mm-hmm. This was regarding Anthem being pushed. Right. So, quote: "Regardless of how it's being portrayed, we're not looking at this as a delay. We've chosen to launch Anthem in the fourth quarter. The date is chosen by a portfolio balance, not the product readiness." End quote. So all this tells me is they just want to meet a date, regardless if the game is complete or not.
That's what I find so funny about EA. While Activision and Ubisoft do this, they don't tell us about it. EA is literally like, yeah, we'll release it unreleased, We just gotta get in the portfolio.
We'll just throw in the DLC in day 1 and 5 patches, whatever.
Yeah. Activision's like, shh, don't tell anybody, but we gotta release it now. And I'm okay with that because I'm like, okay, the game released like this, what's gonna happen? EA is just like, fuck you, we're doing it. Ha, they're laughing at us.
Oh man, well speaking of fuck you, we're doing it. The rumor of Disney might take Star Wars license away from Electronic Arts after that monstrosity in the legislation. I hope this happens, actually.
I do too. I think if you gave Activision a license,
Well, that's actually
I don't think Activision is a great company, but I think they'll do way better than Didn't Activision have Star Wars years ago?
It did, and the two companies that are in the rumor mill, if Star Wars is to be stripped from EA, is Activision and Ubisoft.
What are the odds that Microsoft and Sony allowed to pitch into that?
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a bidding war. I'm sure there'll be a bidding war.
Yeah, but are Microsoft and Sony allowed to do that? Because, imagine if Xbox or PlayStation purchased the rights to Star Wars. How big would that be for the console race?
I don't think it would impact the console race itself. It would just impact sales to the game. Star Wars is too big to be an exclusive franchise.
I agree with that, but Star Wars, if it became an exclusive franchise, and again, just spitballing, could be a console seller just by brand. Just the ads, right? The Forces with PlayStation ads they did with Battlefront, those sold PlayStations. Star Wars is such a universal brand that any, just guy looking to get a video game console so he can shoot stormtroopers is watching the Battlefront ad.
I mean, it would. I'm not saying it. I'm not disagreeing that it wouldn't sell consoles. I don't. But at this point in time, because let's say it's stripped tomorrow, and then Microsoft and Xbox say it's going to be Star Wars, the brand, the franchise will be exclusive to Xbox. Game coming out November.
That would be an awesome
that
announcement.
would definitely sell more Xboxes. But at this point in time, in this console generation, Sony's too far ahead of the curve.
I know. Xbox took too long to get into the right space,
and they're still not there yet.
Well,
Nintendo's catching up quick.
Nintendo's past them, I think.
Well, not in total sales, but it will. That's for sure. But yeah.
But if Xbox comes out with good games, you won't have a problem with that. And another thing that Xbox gave up on, which really shot themselves in the foot, is they started giving up on all their third-party exclusivity deals. Like the Call of Duty DLC. It was right there you saw a big shift in PlayStation to Xbox sales, even more so. Because, again, the average consumer sees the ad for their favorite video game, and when it ends with when it ends with a PlayStation logo, they're like, oh, I got to get a PlayStation to play that, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I notice that constantly in advertising. It's always Xbox games that I see advertisements for. And it's
because Microsoft has been pushing ads, but the big games.
But we also live in North America, so that explains
that. Yeah, we live in North America. But like Call of Duty is a giant one. Has PlayStation DLC month early, and has the ads. Every TV spot for Call of Duty, which there's a lot of them, is for PlayStation. All the Star Wars Battlefront ads for PlayStation. All the people that want to play Call of Duty, which is a lot of the game industry, and Star Wars, which is a lot of everybody, are like, oh, I have to get a PlayStation to play that. Xbox doesn't have any deals outside of EA only, right? They only have EA third-party game.
Well, if I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but if EA does in fact get their Star Wars license pulled, it would be devastating to them.
Yep.
They would totally have that would be the move for EA to look at themselves and go, "Wow, we fucked up. we gotta start changing shit." I think losing the Star Wars license, it totally would. I'm not saying it would happen overnight, but it would. They would lose so much money. They would lose
after the statements that they have made about what their business practices are and how they are just fine. After the most downvoted Reddit post of all time, I don't think anything is going to stop EA. Anything. It's the most downvoted Reddit post of all time, and they haven't changed anything. They actually publicly said, we're not going to do it because it's just fine. EA isn't changing. EA is a shit stain on the underwear of the game industry.
All right, well, okay, fine. I'm sticking with my guns here, in my opinion, that, I mean, you can agree that it would be devastating to EA financially.
Well, yeah, because then all EA really has to bank on is Battlefield, is a reliable franchise.
Well, they still have FIFA.
Okay, I forget. They have the EA Sports stuff.
They have EA Sports
games.
That's a consistent. That is a consistent money load for them. But a lot of their profit margin comes off the Star Wars right now, this second.
Right.
It would impact them enough financially that I think for future titles, that's where it would change. Not titles that they're like. I wouldn't see them changing anything in FIFA or Battlefield, for example, but maybe in a future release, like a Need for Speed. Because that thing was a disaster in itself. Well, speaking of...
I am tired of microtransactions in single-player games. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And speaking of microtransactions and going into DLC, a fighting game came out in January. So this kind of molds into a conversation and the January games that we'll get into here.
Right.
So, Dragon Ball FighterZ came out in January, and it's quite successful. I was there. I was at a GameStop early release night, and I wasn't there for that particular game. I was there for a different game that came out the same night. But a lot of people were there to pick it up.
Was that?
We'll get into that later, but it is Monster Hunter World.
I knew. I made a mistake.
But a lot of people were excited, and I got into a conversation with a hardcore fighting game fan. And
a hardcore one.
He was he claimed he gets like every fighting game that ever comes out ever, and gets all the DLC and everything, and that's pretty much all he plays.
Gotcha.
And we got in a conversation about fighting games and this DLC issue. So he was coming from the perspective that, yes, it's a problem, however, it's okay. Because this is what it's always been in fighting games. While...
That's not true, though.
Well, not DLC in particular, but the... we saw, 10 iterations of Street Fighter 2, with a little extra added on each time, or a different little mode. So, in terms of, that would be original DLC, you might call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at Bosco's, or not Bosco's, I was at a hobby shop the other day, just looking at old Xbox games, and they had the Halo 2 expansion pack, right? It was the disc, which was just the extra maps. It was awesome. I was like, look at this. This is the beginning of the end. Right.
So me and this guy were talking.
Yep.
And he was under the impression that, sticking with Dragon Ball Z, FighterZ, is, now that's come out, it's a fantastic fighting game. It's a lot of fun. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, you're gonna love the game. It's that simple. I thought, just in my personal opinion over it, I thought the battles itself was a bit kind of too quick and all over the place, bouncing too high on the screen at times. Very nitpicky stuff, honestly.
Right.
I don't have too much to complain about other than the online battles themselves. We're nearing the end of February here, and they're still having issues with online matchmaking for battles.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unacceptable, going a month now, basically, after release. And they announced their first DLC pack. No price, but a couple characters. And this is where we're going to get into this, because prior to release, Dragon Ball Z said there's going to be in-game currency. And you play the game, and you unlock things. Of course, you don't play a fighting game for a story mode. I saw on Twitter a lot of people complaining that the story mode's shit. Well, shocker.
Right?
It's something.
Well, at least it's a story. Right?
I mean, Dragon Ball FighterZ has all the characters that you want, essentially, and now they're going to come out.
I don't think they should ship with stories.
Yeah, the base game is very solid. Not much to complain about. What we're going to see and how it's handled, that's where it's going to fall into this fighting game conversation, because Street Fighter V Arcade Edition came out as well. And this is 2.5 years after release, or almost 2 years after its original release, and people are finally saying, oh, this is the game that should have come out. It added arcade mode, and if you buy the Arcade Edition for $40, it comes with the first 2 DLC packs. However, if you already had Street Fighter V for the past 2 years, you don't get those DLC packs if you haven't gotten them yet.
Right.
So you still have to pay the extra money. You just don't get it with the Arcade Edition's a free update. Thank God. Right? So at least they're not totally Blackheart.
Gosh, yeah. Well, yeah. That's good.
But it's still just arcade mode. So to break down kind of what's going on here. Every fighting game seems to come out with DLC, and it involves characters and maybe costumes. Your cosmetic DLC, basically. And it costs X amount of dollars. And of course, it's just this arbitrary number that they throw out. It's like $5 per character, and you might get 2 costumes with them. Okay? Street Fighter V has in-game currency that you can win called Fight Money. Well, the Fight Money system is totally broken and might as well not even exist. So Capcom's basically telling you have to purchase this DLC if you want this extra content. Period. The game honestly wouldn't be as irritating if this Fight Money system wasn't even there to begin with. But the fact that they go, no, if you play hundreds upon hundreds of hours and win every single online match, then you can buy maybe 1 character. A similar issue came up with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Star Wars Battlefield.
Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2, where you would have to play the game for like 50 hours or something just to get Darth Vader.
Oh, it was way longer than that.
That is the kind of time commitment I'm talking about here for getting Fight Money to buy a character without actually purchasing money. So that's a problem. Okay.
Right.
Plus all the exorbitant amount of DLC packs for other characters in the game.
Right.
Hopefully Dragon Ball Fighter Z doesn't go that route. Okay. Yeah. Now, one game I want to point out is the BlazBlue franchise. Cross Tag Battles coming out this summer. Right. Lot of controversy where half of the characters were going to be DLC. And a lot of people were pissed because basically you're saying, okay, they've already planned for half the game to not be in the base game. Right. Okay? Because what is a fighting game if not its characters?
Yeah.
Okay? Well,
I want to preface this, by the way, for anybody watching the podcast. I don't really like fighting games. I don't have much fun with them. So I'm not really talking about them.
I used to, but this is kind of... Fighting games is a good blueprint for DLC and problems in the gaming industry.
Yeah, but so is like the big shooter, stuff.
It's very similar to, like, say Call of Duty coming out with maps after the base game came out. The maps they put in the base game are boring and nonsensical and not interesting.
Yeah.
All the maps they come out later, oh, these are the good ones. Give me all your money.
Like they've been doing with, World War II. That was a big issue. All the DLC maps are coming out now. And all the DLC maps that came out with the first DLC pack, the Resistance, better than all the maps in the game. And what's even better is that these have been in the code since the beta. According to like early press releases and stuff, it looks like they took these maps out of the game to repackage them as DLC.
See, and this is kind of the problem with fighting games they've planned this from the start. If all it takes is is an update and the characters are available.
Yeah.
So BlazBlue is actually doing something I agree with.
Right.
Okay. They're saying the retail price is $50 and there's going to be 6 DLC packs. $5 each, or you get all of it for $20. Okay?
Right.
So, or you can get the deluxe digital edition for $70. Okay, that's the game with all the DLC. So basically, what they're doing is they lowered the base price, accommodated for DLC to meet, say, this arbitrary $60 value, and make it, because we'll get into price points in gaming for our State of Gaming discussion next month. I agree with their $70 price point by doing this.
Yeah.
That is affordable. Because if you put all the DLC together for Street Fighter, for or Mortal Kombat or what have you with all these fighting games, you're spending well over $100.
I think they should raise the base price of games. Honestly, I think base price of games should be $70 to $75 at this point.
It all depends on development.
Yeah,
that's all it depends. Now, one issue I've had with BlazBlue for quite some time is the way they put out the game itself. They make one, and then they essentially just copy-paste a lot of their previous game into the new one, so they're not really developing much new, other than a few characters.
First of all, this comes back to your earlier point about EA, saying we're delaying Anthem strictly, even if it isn't finished, to just, complete our portfolio. Because to the publishers, that's what this is now. It's just a portfolio.
Right.
You have to have it all completed. They literally say, we don't care if the game is finished. They publicly say that. That's the issue here.
Oh, yeah. So going back to the Street Fighter V Deluxe, or the Arcade Edition, I find it kind of a slap in the face to someone who's had this game prior to the release for the past year to 2 years, and they've played the game. Then this Arcade Edition comes out. Capcom has said that they care about the players. Here it is, and then they don't include any previous DLC in the update. And then right after the Arcade Edition comes out, they announce another DLC pack that's another $20. Fuck off.
It's just too much. Well, I mean, it's rough because the DLC, business model just feels toxic for me at this point.
And that's more or less what I'm driving at as well.
That's another reason I'm enjoying Halo so much, because the Halo business model, while some of the rec packs, for the cool camos cost $10, all the DLC that they release is free, and they have a really good, transparent line of communication with their community. And that it makes me feel happy as a player, because I trust the developers that are making my game, and I know that when they make something new, I get to be a part of the community that enjoys it together, not the part of the small fraction of the community that forks out $20 to play it.
It is as you say, machine. The DLC model platform. The DLC model itself is very toxic right now. Companies aren't doing this, and it's for a fact, because people. The guy at the GameStop I was talking to, he goes, "Well, characters cost money." I go, "Well, think about it for a second. If the development of a character cost this much money, then you're almost better off just coming out with a whole new game because of this." Mm-hmm. Which is what fighting games have done in the past for a long time. Mortal Kombat came out with their Complete Edition. And of course, it's not the Complete Edition because DLC came out later again. Just like this Arcade Edition with Street Fighter. So I'm really hesitant on Dragon Ball FighterZ because it could very well go in that direction. The game right now, it has a good in-game currency system to buy your cosmetics and what have you. I totally agree with that. And I agree with what BlazBlue is doing. Lower the base price, accommodate for DLC, and accommodate for a little extra, so you're not overpaying an exorbitant amount of price. Because let's face it, the BlazBlue franchise is mostly copy-paste.
Pretty much.
If I had my way, BlazBlue should be maybe a $20 to $30 game, and then just have your $20 to $30 of DLC to be at your arbitrary $60 price.
Right.
Okay.
And DLC isn't even my biggest issue with the gaming industry right now.
No, it's second to the microtransactions and loot boxes for sure.
No. My biggest issue with the gaming industry is the portfolio mindset. And I think that's what, being, one of my favorite game franchises is Call of Duty. That is what has affected it the most and made it a bad game. It slowly become a worse and worse game. Is the idea that they are funneled into this one idea by the publisher. There's no creative freedom. There's no escaping the business model to get money. There's nothing they can do. The franchise just goes, it's sinking into mediocrity.
I am in full agreement with that. And that
is my biggest problem.
I think that portfolio mindset is what's hurting. I think that's the mindset that has led to what we've talked about with DLC and how companies are treating it.
Well, what it does is it takes away video games as a fun game that you play with friends and have an exciting time with, and it just turns it into a painting at an art gallery that you're selling for like $30 million.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the days when, sticking with fighting games or even racing games, you would play the game and there would be X amount of things to unlock, be it extra colors to cars, extra costumes for characters. It encourages you to keep playing the game and get better at it. But if you're hiding all of these fun things behind DLC, you're not earning anything. Me earning something in the game, I now have to go work at Starbucks for 8 hours, and then I come home. I was like, hey, I just made $60. I can now buy $60 of DLC.
No, that's the progression system now. The progression system is now going out, getting a job, and working 60 hours a week, so you can finally get the. There's no progressing in game by getting headshots. Now it's just go get a fucking job, and you've progressed in life.
You know what I had a lot of fun with, Drew? Yeah. I had a lot of fun with in Uncharted Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4. After completing the game, depending on certain skill shots or attributes that you unlocked by completing the game, such as I killed 50 guys with, let's say, an AK-47, for example, I unlocked X amount of points, and I could use those points to unlock funky stuff in the game. You can play all of Uncharted 4 in ASCII vision, costing you 30 in-game points. I was like, that is fun. Now I want to play more of the game in this ASCII vision. Ooh, for 60 points, I can unlock slow motion whenever I want in the game. Mm-hmm. That is fun. I went back and played more of the game. Drew, you yourself have said that microtransactions, or let's say stick to DLC here, is okay as long as it's cosmetic.
Yes, and I want to continue that statement by also saying the slot machine method I do not agree with.
Well, that's gambling.
I think you should be able. Yes, that's gambling. I think when it comes to microtransactions,
especially if you're putting money into
Duty,
it,
when I can go for $3, buy a customization pack for Weaponized 115, where I get the camo, a reticle, and a calling card for that thing, I'm completely okay with that, because that allows me to say, okay, there's plenty of awesome camos in the game that I can still unlock, but then there's some crazy animated one that I can go buy for $3, and I'm okay with doing that, because first of all, the game is good, I enjoy playing the game, and I want to represent. Even more so when it comes to esports and team camos. If I'm my favorite team, I'm spending $3 to get a camo of my favorite team. That's even more good for the industry. Because it keeps revenue coming, but it's not toxic and anti-consumer.
I think Jim Sterling said it best in terms of DLC and for cosmetics. Or microtransactions, what have you, because they're the same thing at that point, is you play games to have fun, and a lot of that fun experience boils down to, I brought it up earlier with cars having different colors, unlocking different wheels, having your fighting characters dress differently than normal. That is part of the experience of the games. No, they don't impact the game in any way, but it's always been part of the game. You're changing the way these things work just to grub more money out of us. That is part of the problem, and it's just not okay.
So I actually do. Well, I also want to very quickly say that me saying cosmetic microtransactions is okay. Is the game has to be a good game first of all, right? You can't release a terrible game and then put microtransactions in it and expect people to buy it. I'm saying, like I enjoy this game. I'm okay with buying a specific microtransaction. But there still needs to be an amount of unlocking in that game.
If
I'm talking about adding like a cosmetic for longevity. Like 8 months down the line into a game. But I completely agree with you.
If a game is gonna have so much
right.
DLC that it costs more than the base game, then the game shouldn't even cost anything to begin with. That's actually been an argument going around the internet and on Twitter. I'm seeing over the last month or so.
Right.
You take a Dynasty Warriors game, because I was a fan of the Dynasty Warriors franchise in the PS2 era. When PS3 rolled around, now we got internet. All of a sudden, there's about $200 worth of DLC in a Dynasty Warriors game, and they're taking content that used to be unlockable out of the game and now charging you for it. How is that okay? That's just getting money from your consumer. You might as well just be ripping the money right out of your pocket.
Yeah. And those are anti-consumer business practices.
It is. And due to these things, even though I agree with what BlazBlue is doing with lowering the price, I've been now hurt by what fighting games do when they come out.
I don't touch fighting games.
I'm out of it. I don't want to play fighting games anymore.
Yeah, because it's a toxic business model. And that is now the fighting game business model. And it happens in every single fighting game. Fortnite is a free game, right? And first of all, it's a good game.
Well, that's why it's better.
It's solid. Yeah, it has good gameplay. It's fun. It's exciting. And then they have a microtransaction system where you can buy in-game currency and then buy cosmetics. First of all, I want to just point out...
And that's why the game's free, therefore it's okay.
Yeah. I want to say really quick, in-game currency is a scam because it allows them to charge you more for less.
Oh, absolutely.
And I really wish you could just buy things straight out. But I am okay with the Fortnite model because it's simply, I want to buy this only. And I'm going to buy that because I like the game and I want to look that way. Something kind of annoying about Fortnite is that they do the daily purchasable things. So they kind of say, oh, you have to buy it now. Which is smart on their end, but it's still kind of annoying on my end. Well, actually, Zach, Fortnite, the Save the World game mode, is a free-to-play. It's made to be free-to-play. Right now, it's in early access, and you have to buy it to play in early access.
Ooh.
I think in 4 months, Save the World is going to become free-to-play, and you'll be able to play the entirety of Fortnite for absolutely free. That Fortnite is a free-to-play game in total.
All right, so... Other games in January that came out, I had a very good conversation with you on that. We seem to have a little bit of disagreements, but over the industry itself, we do recognize a lot of the issues and want them to change, and the only way to change it is clearly just not be a part of it. And that's the only way to make companies realize.
Yeah, and I'm honest, I morally refuse to touch any EA products anymore, I'm not going to touch a single EA product.
So,
because it's really, really, really bad.
So one game that came out in January is Dissidia Final Fantasy NT.
Right, I read into this one.
This suffers from a different kind of thing. This suffers from what I call more or less a pandering game. Because the first couple of Dissidia games, Final Fantasy Dissidia games, were pretty good. They came out on the PSP, it had its limitations, but it was kind of this 3D pseudo-open world kind of deal fighter with all these Final Fantasy characters. Now, this new Final Fantasy Dissidia game suffers from a copy and paste situation, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which has been plaguing big franchises in the gaming industry forever. You know?
Right. How little do we need to work on this game and then just put it out and make money? A game came out in February that suffered from very much that thing. February is going to be bad.
February's been a terrible month for gaming, by the way.
Well, I got one that I'm happy with.
We'll cover that podcast in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
2 weeks. We were so late on this podcast episode because we already filmed the Game of the Year episode that our February episode is going to be in just like 2 weeks. So we'll definitely, that'll be predominantly news because there's nothing good happened in February for games. So
well, that's our state of gaming. So
yeah.
Dissidia NT has bland fighting maps.
Yep.
Super bland. They might as well be on a grid. A lot of the characters are basically structured in their fighting level by fan popularity.
I love when games do that, when they're like, hey, we're going to do the big mashup, and then they make the super popular characters the best, and then just go down the list.
And that's all this game does. So if I want to be, for example, a Final Fantasy IV character whom I really like, that character's not popular, therefore they're really weak. Great, really can't play the game with that character. That was a major issue for me playing this. The other issue I have, which is even worse, is you have to unlock the story mode.
That's a interesting game mechanic.
And it's not just you unlock it the whole thing. You unlock it like one chapter at a time.
Dude, what?
So you have to do this arcade mode with these terribly structured characters battling over and over and over again until you have enough points to unlock a single chapter of the story.
That's insane.
And the story sucks.
Of course.
As a fan of the first couple Dissidia games, I can't recommend this Dissidia.
No, I won't play it.
Oh, heavily disappointed because I love Final Fantasy. This was just not. This is not worth it.
Right. Quick side note: we have a question in the Twitch chat that I do want to get into and ask you really quickly.
Okay.
Namo T or Zach is what you know him. Asked, do you think games should be like PC, where you can only download what part of the game you want, but in turn paying only for that part? Such as like saying, I'm going to get the new Call of Duty, and I only want to buy the multiplayer, right? It's an interesting aspect.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he says I'd be fine with paying $20 to $30 for multiplayer or other modes as long as I can go to the store and buy the disc and get everything for the combined price. Which in turn sounds like a more consumer-friendly system, but in that case, I feel like if, for like Call of Duty, nobody plays, people play the campaign, but it isn't as popular, so a majority of their purchases are going to be for multiplayer and or zombies. But because that now costs less to purchase than the already really little $60 for a game, you're going to see microtransactions get pushed way harder because they need to make extra revenue. And that's
they're going to want to make that extra revenue. The other issue I would have
$60
as
$60 is not enough for a game. It doesn't supply the developers and
well, I mean, investors would, or companies to investors would disagree with that to a point. It all depends on how much they spend for development.
Right.
But let's take the best example of a AAA game that should not have been $60 upon release was the Tomb Raider reboot.
Or Destiny. The most expensive game that ever developed.
It did make its money back though.
Yes.
And then some. But the Tomb Raider reboot, however, they pumped so much money into development that when it came out, despite being a commercial success, they still didn't break even. That is a case where either it should have been released cheaper, and maybe you put in, that's when you put in some microtransactions or DLC or what have you. Or,
but then again, that game would be a worse game with microtransactions.
Right. Or it shouldn't have been $60. It should have been 70, 80, 90, what have you.
Mm-hmm. But that's the situation with a lot of big AAA games is, these, to create these games nowadays with the tech, it costs insane. It costs movie, production prices to make these games, if not even more,
Yeah, and
it costs so much money to make a high quality game that paying, a couple million people playing $60 for the game doesn't really pay for the production of the game.
And I was reading something from Ubisoft when, in terms of game development, that a lot of it has to do with nailing the graphics. How high-end they want their graphics to be. And that's where a lot of that development cost goes towards. Along with, for some reason, you need the big-name voice actor. You need the big-name person doing model capturing.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they have to do that?
Because, as far as Hollywood goes and having... It encourages people to get your game. If you have... That's the same thing with movies. Starring Matt Damon. Oh, I love Matt Damon. I'll have to go see that movie, It's just a buzzword. We have this guy on it.
Well, no, I mean that's
cool. Especially in the game industry.
That's a selling technique.
Yeah, it's a selling technique, but it also costs them a lot of money.
Is it worth it in the end? Is what a company needs to look at. They think it does. Well, then maybe you should make up the price in some other way. But to go back to the previous question. Let's say Dissidia NT comes out and you have arcade mode and then you have your single player story mode in two separate sellings. $20 for the arcade, $20 for the story. The problem with that is a company would then look at sales like, oh, most people are buying the story. Well, then their next game, they're just going to come out with the story and then raise the price.
Yeah.
Because that's what would happen. So,
like Zach asked, I would be okay buying a full copy, with the full copy being a bit higher of a price as long as I can only buy the multiplayer for like 70%. Saying, if it's an $80 Call of Duty game, multiplayer being $56-ish, they're still losing money. Because Activision still spends the same amount of money to create this game. So now if you're only buying a part of the game for $56, they're losing even more money than just selling the whole game to you for $60.
Right. They wouldn't even bother with the single player then.
Yeah.
They wouldn't bother with one mode.
Yeah. So I feel like that idea, if we're doing the upper priced games and only purchasing certain parts of the game, I think you would see the business models become more anti-consumer because these companies are ruthless with their consumers and they are going to just rip revenue out of you if they need it.
Right.
And they can do it because the game industry, a lot of the casual consumers, kids and dumb people, no offense, are going to get suckered into buying, the $10 Luke Skywalker character or something,
Oh, sure.
That's how it works. Getting pulled into loot boxes for gambling. They have so many focus groups and tests to make sure they get the right look, the right sounds that make people want to keep purchasing these things. So by doing that, we're trying to brainstorm ways to make them more money so they can go more, for the consumer instead of these anti-consumer business practices to make money because they need money to keep themselves afloat, Like Tomb Raider had the big issue. It didn't make money, even though it was a critical success, because it cost that much money to make.
Yeah, that's a rare instance, but it's an instance nonetheless that definitely tells you what it takes sometimes. In the next game we're going to talk about, it's kind of a different issue. The game is Lost Sphere. Came out on the Switch, PS4. I believe it came out on Xbox as well. It was a RPG that's kind of in the retro style. Drew, you were looking forward to this game, but you might have forgotten about it because it didn't get...
Which game?
It's called Lost Sphere.
Lost Sphere. Oh, yeah, I was kind of looking forward to this.
Yeah, and it didn't quite get good reviews for a few particular reasons, and I did get my hands on a demo of this.
Okay.
I got to play an hour of it, and
right.
This... Okay, so this is the same company that brought I Am Setsuna previously.
Right.
Very much the same style. So Lost Sphere tried to expand on what they learned from their first game and put a lot of mechanics into Lost Sphere and add to it. The problem is the characters are very one-dimensional.
Right.
The battle system's overly complicated. And what you do, as you play the game, and as I played the game, I noticed one weird particular thing. As I was playing it, I kept thinking to myself, haven't I played this before?
That's never a good sign.
And I couldn't get that out of my head. And, I got into a battle system. And I go, where have I seen this battle system before? Where have I seen this map before? Every time I got somewhere new or did something new in the game, I got this like deja vu moment. And along with this isn't very good.
Oh,
Then I read a couple reviews online a couple days after I played this. And get a load of this. Have you played Dragon Quest VII?
I think so. What did that come out on?
PlayStation. First one.
The 3?
First one.
Or the original? No, the original PlayStation. I think I did it at a friend's house.
Yeah.
Because I used to play those.
Okay, well you've heard of the game. Dragon Quest is a pretty big franchise. Have you played Xenogears?
Oh, of course.
Lost Sphere is the bad version of taking elements from those two games.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like every map and map travel was straight out of Dragon Quest VII. The battle system and characters are like straight out of Xenogears. I might have them flipped. It's been almost a month since I played it. But the game is a total ripoff, and it didn't even rip it off well. Along with a very convoluted story, so that's very also reminiscent of old RPGs as well.
Right.
So again, another not recommendation here. Lost Sphere was very disappointing. Again, I couldn't get that nagging feeling out. I was like, I swear I've played this already. I just had no interest in going on with it.
Before going to the next game as well, I want to touch back on the question we got earlier.
Sure.
About kind of the split games. How do I word this? The gaming industry is split with a lot of different people. And because the gaming industry is the gaming industry and gamers are very, passionate about their stuff, a lot of people think that they kind of know what's up, right?
Sure.
And, Zach's coming from the perspective, and I know he plays a lot of Call of Duty, and he plays a lot of multiplayer game. What you got to understand about a lot of these games is that the 10 million people that purchase this game, like about 1% of them are the hardcore players, right? Majority are the casual players who jump on, run around a little bit, get shot, then go play the campaign, have a cool action-packed ride, play the zombies, get a little scared, and then get done with it.
Mm-hmm.
And making blanket statements like, all the middle schoolers would just enjoy the multiplayer isn't necessarily true, because you see a lot of people playing the multiplayer, But a lot of people enjoy the campaigns, and a lot of people enjoy the zombies, which is why they still make them, by the way. If Call of Duty could get away just releasing a mode that costs way less money to make, they would do it.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
They would 100%. Yeah, they would instantly do it.
In fact, they tried doing that multiple times.
They did. They tried doing it multiple times, but a lot of people got angry, you know? So what you got to understand, and sometimes you forget about it, but the people that the developers are listening to and making money off of are casuals, not hardcore players. Which is why you see a lot of companies, you know, like Call of Duty developers, not really fixing things for the competitive side because they're making money off of casuals. The game is made for casuals first, especially a game like Call of Duty that sells that many copies to a casual community. They really couldn't care less what the 1% are saying because they're not gonna. The 1% can leave and they're still gonna make millions of dollars.
Exactly.
PUBG is a multiplayer game that was designed for one purpose, right? Call of Duty has many more purposes than PUBG. PUBG is a battle royale game that capitalizes on one singular area. Call of Duty has instilled itself as a multiplayer, single-player, co-op, all-around gaming package for a community.
Yeah, it's not just one entity.
They have an identity. They've created their identity, and they can't just instantly just get rid of that, right? They've tried it before, but they can't. You know, you lose sales because you got a giant community you're dealing with that enjoys a lot of things. You know, the casual player sits down on their couch after work and just plays some stuff and then goes to bed. You know, they don't care about getting max prestige with a good KD, you know? And it's the same with lots and lots of games. You know, a lot of people they don't care about the nitty-gritty stuff. They just want to play a video game and have fun. You know?
Right, but you yourself, you are a singular person that enjoys this one thing. You don't speak for everybody.
You don't speak for the millions and millions and millions of people that are playing that game. And it gets even more rough when you're playing a game as big as Call of Duty because you were literally dealing with millions and millions and millions and millions of players.
Well, you want
It's the game's identity that's chosen.
Speaking of millions and millions,
Yeah.
the next game's a Nintendo Switch game that came out. Wasn't even on my radar until a certain Nintendo Mini Direct.
Wait, what game is this?
It is called Celeste.
Celeste. Oh, God, I kept seeing this in the Nintendo store. Because my buddy right now is borrowing my Switch so he can play Zelda. And I went over to his place and I was just looking at the store and I was like, Celeste, what is this? I know I've heard of this game. What is it?
So, it is a kind of a Super Meat Boy type platformer. But instead of being split into levels, right, of areas of death, you have one world, and each screen is looked at as a level, you might say, or a board.
Right.
And you have to.
I love when games do that thing because it's when you just have your singular screen. It's so simple and bite-sized, but so, complex.
Yeah. So it's a platforming type game, as you might expect. So what happens is you're a girl character and she's climbing up a mountain and kind of comes across a mirror and sees kind of the evil version of herself and there's fun little escape sequences. You collect strawberries as a little item collection to increase the difficulty of certain areas, and you will die a lot. What's really good about the game is its tight mechanics, and the difficulty of it is hard yet fair, and that is where the game shines. No, it's not a big budget title. It's not gonna turn heads and be like Game of the Year type thing, but it is very good at what it wants to be, and I do recommend it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, when you get the chance, Drew, take a good closer look on it. Look over it. If you're the type of person looking for a good platformer, This is definitely...
Well, I'll definitely pick it up.
This is definitely
I
a game
normally,
for you.
whenever I go on a trip, I pick up a new game for my Switch,
Yeah.
and I just play that, one of those bite-sized games. And then Celeste is going to be one of those. Next time I go see my family in Hawaii and I have a 6-hour flight, I'll pick up Celeste on my way and I'll just play it,
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the end game is even more challenging. Like, that is for the hardcores.
Definitely. No, Celeste looks really interesting. I'm really excited.
It is. Yeah, I definitely... Finally, a recommendation, right?
Right.
Whew.
There's only a couple games this month that are worth talking about, though.
Well, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I have my concerns, but it is a very good game right now. It could pull a Destiny 2 on us, or it could screw it up later. A game that definitely screwed it up was The Inpatient.
I watched you stream this game for a little while before I went on a date the other day.
Oh, look at you. Yeah.
I tweeted out for you.
Yeah.
Hashtagged it. And I was like, all right, he's gonna get scared.
I've played this game twice now. So I got about 5 hours out of it total. But I did stream my first run through of it. Okay. PlayStation VR. I always like games on my PlayStation VR. It could be a shitty game, and yet being immersed the way you are in VR makes even a shitty game palatable.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about VR is that it's interactable. It gives you a different way to play the game, right? And that's exciting in itself. A decade down the line, I think we'll be looking at The Inpatient like that was a terrible game.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. When I was done with my first playthrough, I went at the end. I mean, you watch that video of me. I'm at the end. I'm like, yep. Okay.
Okay.
That's the end, I guess. All right.
But along the way, you were in VR, and it was scary, and it was cool.
No, when I was in VR and going through it, because most of the game is basically a walking simulator, but the controls in the game are ass. You can play with the controller.
Wait.
I was playing with the Move controllers, and I'm like trying to pick something up from a table, and I'm like banging my arms in anger like a caveman. I'm like, just pick up the pad of paper.
I was watching you play, and it was so much. I kept getting confused. Like, why is he playing this? Why does he want to play this?
Because I was scared. Like, okay, well, the game starts out, and it fucking made me almost shit myself. Because I'm walking down this hallway, and I know it's the prequel to the Until Dawn series. I'm like, something freaky's gonna happen. Ghost is down the hall, and all of a sudden it pops into your face and screams at you violently. And I'm just like, holy fucking shit! Ah! It's like, imagine you're sleeping, and then someone wakes you up, and you're like, huh, and someone just screams in your face. You're gonna react violently in some way, one way or another. You're gonna punch the dude in the face, or scream right in his face, right back at him. This game hurt me. But once that, like, I put it down for, a while, and then I went back to it, and everything about the game isn't actually scary or interesting. It's all in your head.
VR. Yeah.
Because you are there. You're in the asylum. You are being experimented on. There's fucking monkey zombies crawling from the ceiling and chasing after you. There is one really cool moment I quite enjoyed. And you're with the priest and a nurse. And you have to cross this courtyard into the church. Okay? And it's snowing outside, and they're like, are those things out there? Okay, I'll go first. You're given the option to look at the nurse, and she's like, you want to go first? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to go first. I don't get this shit. You wait here. So I go first, and then I hear her behind me going, oh my god, look, it's above you. And I look around at the VR, I look up, oh god, it's right there. And it's staring right at me. And then it goes, and then the prompt goes, don't move.
Oh, I hated those. Actual.
Oh great,
dude! I literally played most of the end game with my controller on the desk, and then I would just let go, and it said don't move. I was like, okay, I'm not moving.
Yeah, but I'm in VR. I'm standing. I've already been playing for an hour. My legs are getting tired.
You can't move your headset in that situation, can you?
Well, if you move your body, the headset moves. So I'm like, I have the move
You're
controllers and I'm frozen while this monkey zombie thing's like staring at me, and I know if I move he's gonna leap in my face. I was like, okay, that's
actually terrifying, because that takes your VR headset in your game and that brings it past just the I can move my head and look around. That is you legitimately standing still, not just putting your controller down, but you're standing still, because if you move at all, you are going to die in a virtual reality environment.
Oh yeah.
And that's truly scary, and that's good development and good game mechanics.
That was good. I wish because Until Dawn was was a campy 80s type horror experience.
But it was a good game.
It was fun. I wish the Inpatient was more along those lines, because it had its high points.
Right.
And I don't fault a game for being too short. Usually. I did play it twice, so I did get my... I do feel like I got my money's worth, but I don't...
Right.
This is probably the weakest main title PSVR game that's been released to date that I have played.
Say that one more time?
The Inpatient is probably the weakest main title PSVR game that I have played to date, unfortunately.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
It did scare me, but it was mostly me scaring myself
yeah.
throughout the experience.
No, that's what VR does. What VR really, what I personally think it needs a really strong, like, AAA standalone game that isn't Resident Evil 7 that you can also play on a controller.
Well, Farpoint was there.
Farpoint, but it wasn't, a solid, experience all around. I'm looking at PSVR like the same way I'm looking at the Play Anywhere initiative with Microsoft. If you want people to play on your console, don't tell them they can play it on a better PC, right?
Yeah.
If you want people to play your game on PlayStation VR and buy your VR headset, don't tell them they can just play it on their PS4, right?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I do have a nice collection of solid games, like GT Sport's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the experience with Farpoint. Yeah, it wasn't as good as it could have been, but it was a good starter type PSVR game. Riggs is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 is... I mean, it made my top 5 game of the year last year, the PSVR game.
It made my top 10.
Yeah. So...
I think that was my 7 or something.
I've been asked about VR porn. I have a PlayStation VR. I believe you need an Oculus for VR porn.
No, you can do VR porn with a PSVR headset.
Can you? Well, then I might have to look into that. Although the last anime cast that I did was over hentai, so I may have watched quite a bit of Japanese porn in the last couple weeks.
Can I do VR porn?
Oh boy.
With my PSVR. I might have to get a Google Cardboard if I can. Watch porn PlayStation VR. Okay, here we go. VRheads.com. Porn isn't out of reach when you're using PlayStation VR.
See, there you go.
But
although
VR.
you can get a couple, like Japanese idol games, and if you use the PSVR and you try to like look under their skirts or whatnot, it always says out of play area. So that was funny.
Dude, I love that. No, like as far as like pornographic gameplay is coming along, there's the new Shinai or Sakori or whatever it's called for the Switch, the HD Rumble. They're doing. Have you seen the boob technology?
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
They do it's just scientists holding a Switch controller and like a baked flan. It's like we're trying to replicate real boobs. It's like these game designers sitting in lab coats holding the controller and like fake boobs.
Oh, I'm just waiting for that to come with the PSVR.
Wait. So you just need to know how to find it. Think of PlayStation VR gives you access to both full internet browser, and that's what I was thinking, the internet browser on the PlayStation 4. On your PlayStation 4, if you use the browser, you can easily navigate to your preferred website of choice for adult videos. All you need to do is open up that video, want to watch it, sit back and enjoy. There are also several apps available to play media.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you could do POV style cameras, but I don't know. It's not the same thing.
Don't act like now that you know you can do it, you're not gonna go do it.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have a PSVR porn party. I don't know.
Dude, no. No, seriously. If you go do VR porn, we're having a conversation about this on the next podcast.
I'm not gonna talk about VR porn.
we're doing it off camera then, because I want to talk about this. I want to know your opinion on VR porn.
You know what I do want to talk about?
What?
The best game that came out in January.
Oh, of course. Go for it, man.
Oh, Monster Hunter World came out, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the big one.
Oh, it's everything I wanted. Oh, it's so good, Drew. Oh.
I'll pick it up at some point.
Oh, it's okay. So, little disclaimer for anyone who's not a Monster Hunter person. The game does throw a lot at you to start.
Okay, whoa. Before you get into that, I want to point out the prologue for this game might be the coolest prologue I've ever played.
Oh, it was fucking awesome.
It was awesome.
You create your character, and then it's kind of in this first-person view, and everyone's on a ship, like, meeting each other, greeting. You got your cat with a beer in his hand. You got a beer in your hand.
Yeah.
And you're just having a good old time, and all of a sudden shit goes down, a big volcano
crash
dragon.
Into this volcano? You crash into this volcano.
It's a dragon.
And, shut up. You crash into this volcano, and you're doing all this shit, and you're like, oh, this volcano, you're like, getting off it, and you get on I forgot what you got on, but you fly away, and after this big, intense opening, as you fly away, you see the volcano fucking stand up, and it's this giant dragon thing, and you're like, holy shit, it's like, whoa, this is awesome, and then you just get into the game, because the scale of, from the beginning monsters that are scary to the giant monsters that are just terrifying, the game is just so awesome. It's just an experience.
I haven't truly played a Monster Hunter game since Freedom Unite on the PSP.
Dude, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate on the 3DS was an amazing game.
Oh, they're all really good. What makes Monster Hunter World, in my opinion, the best one to date is the fact that it's very accessible. It has
that's what I'm hearing.
It has a single player to engage a lot of people that aren't familiar with the franchise.
Right.
The multiplayer aspect is all still there. There's a really cool flare system involved where anybody can just jump in if you need help.
I always love those.
The one thing that's very much different for seasoned people. For seasoned Monster Hunters, they'll notice immediately is the maps are fully integrated as one single thing, as opposed
the games
to
needed that for a while.
Yeah, as opposed to because they've been on portable so long.
They've always been these mini sandboxes. Then when you get to the edge of it, it loads the next area.
Yeah, and you would be able to like cheese killing monsters that way and whatnot, or you'd have to tag a monster so if it goes to another area of the map, you'd know what area you can teleport to or go to. Monster Hunter World doesn't have any of that. Everything's fully integrated. It's one large scaled area, which is really cool. There's multiple monsters per map area, and one of my favorite things that has never gotten old is the territorial battles between the monsters.
Right.
Every monster has its own kind of singular AI and how it reacts to different kind of monsters and how you attack it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like I said at the beginning, much of the details of how to play the game is thrown at you all at once, and it really takes a good hour or two diving into a lot of the menus and what you need to do and how like weapon crafting and item crafting works. And then even after so long of playing it, it keeps expanding on that. So you're constantly learning new systems, 30, 40 hours in.
Right.
Another thing that people might be put off from is what is being called the grind. I prefer to call it the loop.
That's a JRPG thing.
Well,
it's the gameplay loop is the grind.
I call it the loop because
it is the gameplay loop.
Monster Hunter thrives on you completing this loop. You go beat monster A, you harvest its organs and parts to make
It's kind of like the Far Cry loop, but then just a lot bigger. And more expansive.
It's more expansive in scale. You get those said parts to create armor and or weapon to beat the next bigger monster. Rinse, repeat. Make sure you have the proper items for said fight. Make sure whatever weapon you have matches your style. Because there's no real heavy difficulty to the game itself. Like, people go, what's the best weapon for a beginner? Or what's the best weapon for a seasoned person? That's not how it works. It works with you trying out all the weapons, and whatever style suits your gameplay the best, that's what's going to make the game easier or harder for you. Like, I am shit. I also want to say the
community is super nice and helps you learn the game if you don't know it. It's a great community.
Oh my god, the Monster Hunter community is among the nicest I've ever experienced. I mean, I have PlayStation Plus because of this game, and I was able to jump in with anybody or whatnot. We just have conversations. I'd fully admit to somebody, hey, I'm not very good at this, but I'll try my best. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh yeah, we got your back, no problem. Here, we'll help you out. Not to say that I didn't come across a few douchebags along the way, and I'd get them back by throwing rocks at the monster. Am I doing good, guys? Am I killing them? I'm doing 1 damage. Awesome. And then I'd get a message like blocked from user. I'm like, don't have to worry about him ever again. That only happened twice.
Gaming communities are awesome, honestly. Especially when you're playing a good game that has a good community. There's not a better feeling. A game that isn't toxic is well made. Rainbow Six is great at this. The community is awesome. They want to teach you how to play the game. Like it's awesome. Same thing with Monster Hunter. It's a good game that isn't toxic, and the players want to help you because they like making friends and playing the game.
Oh yeah,
that just makes the game even better.
The story, it's okay. I mean, it's not really the true reason why you play the game. You advance to other areas and whatnot in the game by advancing the story. The story has every story mission is tied to a new monster, which is really nice. And then once you can't replay story missions, which I don't quite agree with. But that's kind of nitpicking the game at that point, because what you do is you activate what they call investigations, where you can hunt particular monsters you've encountered before, or you can you can open up the map online to see if somebody else is doing that, or you just answer a flare to do something random. So you can replay these things, or you just do what they call an expedition, where you go to a map and just hunt them down.
Yeah, I always had a lot of fun with those in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate.
Yeah, but if you want to earn money, investigations are the way to go. Because if you want to actually craft your weapons, you have to have money to do that, not just the items. My favorite thing, and this is why Monster Hunter World is so accessible, is because you can play the entire game by yourself.
Yeah, but also you can play with friends, and it's still good.
Well, so in past Monster Hunter games, the monsters or the gameplay itself wasn't scaled really to how many people are in the party. In Monster Hunter World, in single player, the monster's scaled to a singular player, so the monster will act differently because he's only facing you. While if you have a party of 3 or 4, which 4 is the max, the monster will be more aggressive because there's more people attacking it. It'll have more health. It might go to different areas and act a different way there. Really interesting and cool stuff. I really have nothing horrible or bad to say. I mean, if I have anything negative to say, it's the most nitpicky thing you can imagine. Like, you can't replay a story mode. Well, okay, that's very nitpicky.
It's really nitpicky.
This is a 5-star game.
Replay, it's a 5-star game. It's definitely worth getting and playing or renting. It's a fun video game that isn't weighed down by, revenue trends or, people in suits and ties. It's just a people made by creative artists for people to play and have a fun time with. And that's what video games need to be at the core. And that's what this game is.
Leave it to Monster Hunter World of all things by Capcom. What the hell? But of course, Capcom wouldn't be Capcom because they did announce like certain DLC things. They're really crazy and like you can be Street Fighter's Ryu in Monster Hunter and throw a Hadouken.
That's awesome. I think that's cool when you start adding out. Like, you can be the girl from Horizon Zero Dawn on the PlayStation.
Well, yeah, there's certain armor keys that you can unlock through special events. Like right now, there's one going with, you can get Ryu's armor and outfit. That's free by doing the event. It's a timed event. Not sure I agree with that. Because then if you don't get the game now, well, then you're going to miss out on that stuff. And of course, they're just going to... Of course, they're just going to sell it for DLC later. Because it's Capcom, and they've already... This is how they're getting you. So that you do the Street Fighter event, right, as an example.
Yeah.
You get to look like Ryu. If you want to throw the Hadouken, you have to go on the PlayStation Store and buy the Hadouken.
Really?
Yeah, you have to buy the attack.
You have to buy... Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, it's weird and just to get money out of you. Mm-hmm. Of course, you don't have to do it, but they're pretty much saying, hey, if you want to be Ryu, you can only be 50% Ryu. Right. You know, I don't agree with these tactics, but hey, it's awful nice of them, I guess, to do these kooky things.
Yeah.
Right?
Suppose. Yeah.
But yeah, Monster Hunter World's a 5-star game. It's the game of the year right now. Not hard to do, honestly. With what's come out.
No, it's probably my game of the year right now too.
Yeah,
but I mean, we got a lot of good games coming out here soon.
Yeah.
So,
don't think I have really a game of the year for the 2 and 3 spots quite yet. They're undecided. Oh, some games coming out in February that we'll be talking about. Metal Gear Survive.
Ooh, the beta's live right now. I haven't downloaded it or played it, but thank you for reminding me.
Dynasty Warriors 9, Dragon Quest Builders, Sprint Vector for PlayStation VR, Moss for PlayStation VR. Hooray!
I just hit up my Xbox store sale. So.
We'll probably bring up all those funky remasters that came out, like Shadow of the Colossus and the remake of Secret of Mana and Payday 2 that's on the Switch. So.
Oh, I'm excited for that. I reinstalled Payday 2 on my PC to start playing.
Okay.
Because I really like that game. I have a lot of fun when I get a... Do you have that game on PC,
Nope,
JD?
I do not.
Dude, I would love... You should pick it up. I'd love to sit down and play that game with you. Because that game is just a fun co-op shooter with a cool aesthetic, good music, fun, experience. It's a fun game to play. Yeah. Robbing a bank with your buddies, having a big shootout, trying to actually sit down after you just get in giant gunfights and strategize. Okay, let's hit the cameras here. Let's tie up the people's here. Let's stop the phones here. There's so much depth to that game as far as you want to just play.
Well, speaking of
but
thievery...
The only sad part of that game is that you really need to have friends to play it with.
THQ got really Saints Row again? Yeah.
Does THQ still a company?
I guess they are, because they have Saints Row again.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, good for them.
Well, alright, so before we ramble on into nonsense, this was the Red Leaf Retrocast. This is the Modern Gamecast.
Yep. January
breakdown. Drew, I had fun.
Also,
it's getting late.
Call of Duty on my Xbox. Modern Warfare Remastered. It's $10 off, and I was like, "Fuck, I really want to play that game."
Drew, it's going on 3:30 in the morning. I think it's time to cut this episode off.
Dude, well, it's only like 12:22.
Yeah, for you.
Oh well,
I gotta go to bed. This was great. I'll get this episode out in a couple days.
You know what, JD? I think this has proven that we should record all of our podcasts at 3 in the morning.
Oh, okay. God. Alright, thank you everybody for joining us. Say thank you, Drew.
Thank you for Stream for hanging out. Definitely. We'll we do these every month. Sometimes we do little extra ones like State of Gaming or like the Game of the Year.
Whatever.
Or any little extra stuff. So keep in touch with the stream. What's up? Thanks for watching, guys.